Hello there and welcome to my channel. I'm Chase Moser and this is Moser Movie Reviews. Today I'm going to be going over the third installment of the Tremors franchise, Back to Perfection. Now, whenever I was younger, the first time I ever recall hearing of this movie was whenever I was watching Jurassic Park 3, and this was a preview before that. I remember being like, I don't really understand what this is about and why would I want to watch this? I had never seen the Tremors franchise at that point. I didn't even know what it was. Cut to all of these years later, I was finally able to get interested in it and I loved it. I thought it was so cool. I actually think the evolution of it is really fun. Now it tells the next installment in the evolution of the graboids and how they change into their next cycle of life to carry the eggs. It stars Burt Gummer again, and Michael Gross is just amazing as this character. I definitely love how they go back to the original town. A lot of people think this movie is a little bit cheesy, and it might be, but it was definitely a comfort for me growing up, so I definitely enjoy watching it. It might be one of my favorites of the entire franchise. I just think it's like peak. It's like peak franchise for me, so I just really love that. And it was made in 2001, so that's crazy. Also, the Ass Blasters, I don't know, maybe the Shriekers, I don't know. The Ass Blasters and the Shriekers are my favorite parts of this franchise. So, with all of that being said, let's get right into Tremors 3, Back to Perfection. We pick up with Burt in Argentina, and he is fighting off this species for a third encounter, and it is on a different continent, so that's new. And it's really crazy how the opening of this film, I didn't appreciate it a lot as much as I do now whenever I was younger, but it's so cool how much Shriekers there are and how fast it gets and how he just eliminates the threat of them, because they were such a big scary thing in the last one. And I really love how we also get the worms in this one too. It's just crazy seeing him with the evolutions of the guns, and there's a lot of practical effects in this too, but it's also, you know, CGI as well. And it's doing the best for what it can at the time. 2001, which means they were editing it in like, you know, 2000 or 99 even, is really good for the time. So we get Back to Perfection, and this was a great opening, a strong one too. It establishes Burt and the tone of the film, and you already know how amped it's going to be. You've already seen the monsters, just like you know how the other installments have gone. I love how we are back in Perfection Valley, Nevada's original town, and some of the main characters are there as well. I love the theme song. That might be my favorite from the entire franchise. This literally is just so nostalgic, and this was peak franchise for me. I've already said that, but it's true. Seeing the town where it is, and even though you see it in like the second movie, it's just Burt in his basement for like a half a second, and the beginning of Earl and his, you know, little bird farm. The market is so iconic, and you establish this town's history, and I love how there's like the little descendant of the original grocery store operator. She's definitely one of the best part of the films and the story aspects, the way that she's so interested in the species and the graboids themselves, and how they have the whole little community still. And Mindy and Nancy, they're back. It's the same original actresses, and the girl from Jurassic Park plays her. So can you imagine having those three films in your, like, you know, filmography? That's so cool. That must have been so much fun for her. She must like taking on different movie monsters. So if you ever want to see what she looks like slightly older after Jurassic Park, it's really cool to watch this film. I think the pacing is fun. I think the vibe and the element is perfect. I like the whole idea of Jack's graboid desert adventure. They really establish the fun of this town. It feels like a world. It feels immersive. You're so familiar with the franchise at this point and Burt Gummer that it feels comfortable, and it feels good to be back in this town. And the soil just has a real feel, you know? I like the idea that they're trying to turn it into a place where people can live, and they're trying to expand it, make it green, have malls, homes, shopping places, and this graboid is what's keeping them from, you know, pursuing that. And that's actually a plotline that goes into the TV series that follows this movie that I actually didn't know existed for a very long time. And I'm really glad I found it, because growing up when I had the attack pack, I was like, whoa, number 3 was so cool. I can't wait to see what they do with the Ass Blasters, like after this. And they go into 4, and it's a prequel. So this was the sequel that I always wanted to see my whole life, that I never ended up finding out about until like a year or two ago. So it's really, really awesome for me. You should definitely check it out if you don't know it. The Tremors TV series. So I love the whole idea of the faking the graboid encounter because it's played up to where it looks real at first, and then you kind of break that wall, and it's so fun, and it establishes, you know, his gimmick, and then it really sets up a cool scene for when the Tremors and start shaking and the graboids themselves actually show up, and it's real this time. It's not the setup, and you have to get back into town. Mindy's finding out what's going on. The siren is going off. Bert is establishing that he has this cement wall around his perimeter of things, and electrified fences and all of these guns and everything on the surface so that it's graboid proof and shrieker proof. And it's so crazy seeing it work in the way that it is, and you know, going throughout the procedures of trying to keep the graboids under control without getting in trouble with like the government people that have showed up, quickly goes out the window when everybody gets attacked, and they start trying to eradicate the shriekers by geosatellite. They locate where they are and try to go after them, and then they run into the graboid problem, and Bert is just, you know, peak best Bert with his chaos and his lines, and I love him so much, and his character development in his arc is so great. I could watch him this whole time. I'm a Bert Gummer pusher, a Bert stan. I'm here all day. I really love him. I really like him. He is the franchise for me. That's why I said, like, I like Kevin Bacon, and I like Fred Ward, and I like where they are in the franchise, but I didn't need them for this. He's totally the king of this, and I really love him, and I let it rain. They discover that this particular graboid might be an albino one, so it does not and will not have offspring. That keeps it submersive and subterranean underneath of the ground, and that keeps the threat there. Eventually, you know, you think, oh, well, they'll all turn into shriekers so we don't have to worry about the worms. That's not true in this case, and it has a particular interest in Bert. So whenever we're finally trying to blow up the shriekers, they are so happy because they think they got them all, and Bert knows for a fact that there should be remains. This is not a good sign at all. And whenever we are tracking the other truck explosions that are going on, we find this other creature, and it comes out from around the corner, and it looks crazy. It's so... I prefer this ass blaster versus some of the other versions that go on later in the franchise. I used to really hate them because they weren't this. I've grown to like them a lot more now and appreciate them for what they are, because if I want to see these, I will just have to watch this installment. But it's really cool. I think they're so terrifying, and the idea of them is so aesthetically cool for me. I love the beaks and just the way they're designed. I think it was so perfect, and I don't think they needed to change them, but I guess I understand evolution and where you go with the plot lines from there. Having the part of it where it takes off with fire and explaining it with like the chemicals and the beetle, and that being related to the fact that some animals really can do that in nature is crazy. Adding to the life cycle so that they can carry the eggs, you figure out that these creatures, these ass blasters, have this ability to glide so that they can carry the eggs as far as a distance as possible. That's such a smart aspect, and it's really creative as well, and makes them a different threat. And if you watch the first movie, you are slowly introduced to the graboid as you go on, and then if you watch the second, you're slowly introduced to the shriekers about an hour into it. And then you get into this one, and about an hour into this one, the ass blasters are the full effect, and they take over the finale, and it's like, it's typical Tremors formula, and I'm totally here for it. It's the biggest vibe ever. Having them just run amok at the store and crash on the roof and take out the main store floor with Mindy and her mom, and Bert is at his house, and I love the way that he has everything set up in his bunker and all of these survival equipments and everything, and then he's not ever anticipated anything crashing through his roof. So then there's a whole other thing, and then there's another safe room, and she's like, Bert, I like you. And me too, and he's so prepared for everything, but still thrown for a loop because these creatures are predictable, and I totally think that it shows how much of a threat they are. And Bert has this escape tunnel as well, and in preparation for not trying to get them to procreate, he thinks that he needs to blow them up instead of feeding them, because that's what we've learned before with the shriekers, but it turns out that's what actually sends them into a coma. And there's so many comedic moments, and just the way that the story moves is so funny, and having Bert react to his and his almost self-destructive ways and his cataclysmic events is just hilarious. I think the finale in the junkyard is perfect because it's different, it's new, it's fresh, it's something we've never seen before. There's always different towers or different things or rocks that they're trying to get up on in the first two, so I think it's a fun deviation and still in the same world, but it gives you a bunch of different ways to operate. I love how it's during the daytime you get to see a bunch of different junk and they work together trying to find pieces of weapons, and the nightfall slowly happens and one by one they're able to blow them up and attack them, shoot them, get them to be distracted or stuck, and it's so interesting watching them battle. I could watch the finale all over again so many times. I think that sometimes I've done it so much that it's like blows my mind. I don't know, like sometimes it doesn't even feel like a finale for me because I know that the TV series follows after this, but it's so fun for me, and I do think that it's a great payoff, and I think that it holds up well. I think it is really underrated, and it does get a lot of hate for being really silly or one of the silliest ones, and it's just super weird because it's so awesome for me and so enjoyable for me, and it piques my attention, and it's the one I'm most easily able to put on or want to watch or want to pay attention to. And the combination of the shriekers in the beginning, the worms in the middle, and the ass blasters at the end is so fun. It's all of the franchise, and having Bert and them escape the, junkyard intact with everything just in the last moment, like they always do in the nick of time, is so perfect. And the way that they're going to operate the town now is perfect because they don't have to give in to the little deal that they have to sign all their stuff away so that they can renovate. And I keep saying perfect because it's Perfection Valley, Nevada. That's why this movie is perfect. Okay, so it's probably not, and no movie is ever perfect, but I personally love it so much. So this is a good end for me, and I've always wanted to see where this goes. It actually is also why I was so anticipating number 5 for a while in my life. I'd always wanted it because it's 11 years after number 4. Crazy, just like Scream. But was so different for me. It wasn't anything I expected, so it took me a long time to digest that. But I actually really like seeing it as a follow-up to number 3. It's a sequel that I've always really wanted to see. But for me, truly, the real, I don't want to call it Tremors 4 because there wasn't, but the real sequel for me to Tremors 3 isn't the 4th one or the 5th one. It's this TV series. And then after the TV series, it's fun to see number 5 as well. Yeah, this franchise is crazy, but I love it. I love it all so much. Well, those are my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a good time. I hope I was able to sway your opinion to the more positive side, or hopefully you maybe already like this movie enough. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to comment down what your favorite parts are. Do you like the evolution cycle of the graboids and the ass blasters versus shriekers versus graboids? Which ones are your favorite creatures? Which ones do you like? How do you like seeing them perform? Let me know all that good stuff in the comments. Make sure to check out my other videos, and I'll be doing a bunch of different genres. Sometimes I live stream and do things with my friends. Also check out my community tab because I post different questions and polls that are fun, and it's kind of like the best way to interact with me. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching again, and I guess I'll see you next time. All right, bye.